Thank you, Shomali. Good afternoon, everyone. Today I am here to introduce you all with our topic cryptocurrency. Now, after hearing this, the first question that keeps on riddling in our mind is what actually is cryptocurrency? Does it have any physical existence or is it only digitalized? Nowadays, the most common type of money transactions are carried out by the banking system. Even if it is online, there is a centralized control. That is, currencies are issued by the central bank and not all people can generate it without having a proper authorization. So the world welcomes a new type of medium of exchange that is gaining immense popularity, and this new wave of money transaction is cryptocurrency. It is simply a digital asset which is designed to be work as a medium of exchange, and it uses strong cryptography to secure financial transactions, regulate the generation of units of currencies, and verify the transfer of assets. And the medium is decentralized, that is independent of control of any central authority. And it works through distributed ledger technology that serves as a public transaction database. Now, proceeding to the formal definition of the cryptocurrency, we can see that according to Jan Lansky, a cryptocurrency is a system that meets 6 conditions. Number 1, the system does not require any central authority and its state is determined by the distributed consensus. Number 2, the system keeps an overview of the cryptocurrency units and their ownership. Number 3, the system defines whether new cryptocurrency units can be created, and if created, the system defines the circumstance of their origin and their ownership. Number 4, in the system, the ownership of the cryptocurrency units can be proved exclusively cryptographically. Number 5, the system allows transactions to be performed in which the ownership of the cryptocurrency units are changed, and the transaction can only be issued by the entity proving the current ownership of the units. And the last one is, if 2 instructions for changing the same ownership of the cryptocurrency units are entered simultaneously, the system performs at most one of them. This is how the synchronization between 2 transactions are maintained. Now there are various terms which needs to be discussed separately. First we have digital. It means cryptocurrencies exist only on computers. There are no existence of physical coins and notes. Hence it is digitalized in nature. Next we have decentralized. I have already told the system is decentralized. Next is peer-to-peer. Cryptocurrencies can be sent from person to person online without any intermediate medium. Hence it is supported by peer-to-peer network. Next is pseudonymous. Users don't have to give any personal information to use and own the cryptocurrency. So it is referred to as a pseudonymous method. Next is trustless. According to the trustless property, users are in complete control of the information and money at all times, since there is no trusted third party. Next is encrypted. The system uses strong code to stop the information from being hacked by the other users, and since information is hidden with the cryptography, it is encrypted. The last one is global. It signifies cryptocurrencies can be sent all over the world without any medium, hence it is global. Now looking to the past years, if we take a glance at the history of the cryptocurrency, we can see that Bitcoin was launched in 2009 by an individual or a group under the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto. The picture depicts the evolution of, please go to the previous slide. The picture depicts the evolution of the money transaction prevailing from the barter system. At first there was barter system of exchange, then came the gold and metal coin, and now we use paper money and plastic coin. And recent years shows the transactions with electric money, and from which cryptocurrencies evolved. Now coming to the types of the cryptocurrency, we can see that Bitcoin was first blockchain-based cryptocurrency, and it still remains most popular and valuable one. Well, some of other competing cryptocurrencies are known as altcoin, that is alternate coin. They include Namecoin, Fiatcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, US, etc. In recent years, top 5 cryptocurrencies are shown in the slide, as you can see them. Now moving on from the types of the cryptocurrency, the question arises is, why do we use cryptocurrency and what are the purposes of it? As you can see in the slide, first one is fraud protection. Since all confirmed transactions are stored in the system, it is fraud proof. The next is identity receipt. All transactions between digital wallets can calculate accurate balance, and all transactions are checked to make sure that coins are used actually owned by the current painter. The next is transparency in the system that ensures security. All transactions transparent with instant proof of payment that ensures the security of this system. And the next is the system offers instant settlement with worldwide payment. Ease of the use is the reason why cryptocurrency is in high demand. Sending and receiving money from everywhere in the world can easily and instantly be performed. And the last one is the low fees with high privacy. The system requires either low or very low fees to transact money internationally, and it ensures the security of the users that are connected in this transaction. Now I request my teammate Shreya to discuss blockchaining in cryptocurrency. Thank you.
Thank you, Polly. Now moving on to the technology on which cryptocurrency stands, we come across the term blockchain. As the previous team already told that Bitcoin was the first cryptocurrency which is most valuably used. Now, what is the technology behind it? How did it came? Blockchain is basically a linear chain of blocks. Now, if you think of it, you can see that blocks are connected together to form a chain. Well, if you thought this, you are absolutely right. That's how it exactly works. As you have already heard that in order to authenticate and verify a transaction, there is always a need for the validation of the transaction. And this validity of cryptocurrency coins is provided by a blockchain. Groups of information can be called blocks, and when these groups of information are connected together to form a very long list, it forms a chain. Hence the term comes into limelight, which is blockchain. A blockchain is a continuously growing list of records which are called blocks that are linked and secured using strong cryptography. Each block contains a hash pointer that contains a link to the previous block, a transaction and a timestamp of data. As cryptocurrency is decentralized, so it must use some technology to remove the third parties from the system. What is this technology called? This is distributed ledger technology. Now, new terms for us. What does it mean actually? It refers to an agreement of shared, replicated and synchronized digital data that is spread across multiple sites without the need of a central administrator or a centralized data storage system. That is, they are shared databases where transaction information are recorded. And that is what is referred to as DLTs in the slide, which you can see are nothing but that record transactions between parties efficiently in a permanent and verifiable way. Now, for use as a distributed ledger, it is typically managed by a peer-to-peer network of computers, and once recorded, the data in the blockchain cannot be modified or altered without the subsequent alteration of the previous blocks. Hence, rightly said that it is resistant to the modification of data. As you can see in the picture, that the whole database is stored on a network of computers which are known as nodes. New information can only be added to the network if more than half of the nodes agree that it is valid and correct. This is called consensus, and that is what differs cryptocurrency from normal banking. Moving to the blockchain technology, we see that these are the DLTs which are used by most cryptocurrencies. This technology ensures enhanced security and privacy not only within the cryptocurrency system but also in many other domains. The three main properties that have helped the technology to gain widespread acclaim are at first decentralization, which Polly already told that it does not involve a third party in the system and everybody is in complete control of the transaction. Next comes transparency, which ensures that a person's real identity is hidden using complex cryptography and is secure. But it is represented by the public address which is visible to all users in the system. This level of transparency adds the much needed level of accountability within the financial system. Coming to mutability, in context of blockchain, it means that once data has been entered into the blockchain, it cannot be tampered with due to the cryptographic hash functions, which states that a small change in the input hash will cause a huge reflection in the output hash. Moving on to the technology fundamentals of blockchain, we see that blockchain comprises of two components. One is transaction that represents the action which is triggered by the participant user, and the other one, which is block, that I have already told, are nothing but collection of data to record the transaction and other associated details with it. Depending on the scope of use, blockchain can either be public or private. Public, which means that it is accessible to all, hence public blockchain, and the other one, which is private, that is, the access is limited to selected trusted participants within the system only, hence private blockchain. One thing that you must keep in mind while using private blockchain is that the user's details must be kept concealed. It's always the case that when you come to know about a new technology, you crave to know how can you use the technology and how can you operate on it. So, here comes to my next slide that refers to the operation of the blockchain. At first, what you need to do is to request a transaction and then the requested transaction is broadcasted to a peer-to-peer network of computers, which are known as nodes, after which the P2P network validates the transaction and the user status using known algorithms, and then, once verified, the transaction is combined with other transactions to create a new block of data for the ledger, after which finally the new block is added to the existing blockchain in a way that is permanent and unalterable. Finally, the transaction is completed. So by following these easy step-by-step procedures, you can accomplish a blockchain transaction in a worldwide scenario. Now, looking at the bright side of the technology, you must definitely be thinking of some of the major benefits that the technology provides. First of all, the implementation behind the blockchain technology is public, which is one of the major benefits provided by it. Each participating entity contains an updated complete record of all the transactions within the system. Its decentralized nature is another major benefit which it provides, and the overall security which is maintained by the blockchain ecosystem is another major advantage to mention and which is praiseworthy. And continuing with the topic so far, you must have realized that something which remains constant within the system always is the trust which is maintained in the system. Among all the technical terms that I have used, the trust remains abstract within the system always. Hence, rightly said, a blockchain is called the ideal trust machine paradigm. Without the need of an intermediator or user's trust, the trust is manifested within the decentralized network itself through peer-to-peer network of transactions. And although it doesn't have any endings and it goes on continuing, but I must say that it is considered a noble revolution in not only computing, but it enables limitless applications in various other domains such as for verification of legal deeds and certificates, healthcare data, IoT, cloud, and so forth. Blockchain forms the base where the crux of the core cryptocurrency lies in. Now, I would like to hand over to my next speaker, Shomali, to continue with the proceedings.
Thank you, Shreya. Moving on next, how cryptocurrency works. Three important keywords on which cryptocurrency transaction is based upon: mining, exchange, and wallets. Now, for any kind of transaction to take place, a platform is needed. In cryptocurrency transaction, business is done usually through a website where we can buy, sell, or trade cryptocurrencies. This is known as exchange. Next, we have mining or crypto mining, which is a process in which transactions of various cryptocurrencies are verified and added to the blockchain digital ledger. People who voluntarily offer their computing power to secure these cryptocurrency networks are known as crypto miners. Third, we have wallets, which are basically software programs with storing public and private keys and enables users to send and receive digital currency and monitor their balance. Next, I just now mentioned about public and private keys. Public and private key are actually secret keys, where private key is used to authorize transaction. After the transaction has been verified, public key uses to verify these transactions. Main difference is private key uses only one key shared by both sender and receiver, but public key uses two different keys to encrypt and decrypt the message, where only one key is kept as secret and the other one is shared. Coming to another basic concept, cryptography. Cryptography is the art and science of making crypto systems providing information security. Cryptography is an established method of sending data fully encrypted, which is only readable and can be decoded with specific unique keys. Discussing about the need of cryptography in cryptocurrency, we see cryptocurrency uses cryptography to secure transactions without the involvement of any third parties. It regulates the creation of additional cryptocurrency, maintains a record of asset transfers. Each cryptocurrency user has a payment destination which is associated with unique secret keys. This is where the use of public and private key comes. Discussing about the various methods of cryptography used in cryptocurrency. You see, our first method that uses same secret key, that is the private key, to both encrypt and decrypt the message at source and destination respectively is known as symmetric encryption cryptography. Method that uses two different keys, that is both the public and private key, to encrypt and decrypt the data, which helps in authentication and encryption, is called asymmetric encryption cryptography. Third method, that is hashing and digital signature. Hashing is a mathematical function which converts any form of data into a unique string. It accepts any form of any length of input and converts into a fixed output length. It encodes people's account addresses. It also uses digital signature, which allows genuine participants to prove their identities to the network. To understand the revolutionary impacts of cryptocurrency transaction, it has been divided into two properties, transactional properties and monetary properties. We see under transactional properties, after confirmation of any transaction, it cannot be reversed, that is irreversible. If you send your funds to a scammer, there is nobody to help you. Neither transactions nor accounts are related to real-world identities. Bitcoins are received on so-called addresses formed randomly, hence is pseudonymous. Transactions take place in global network and is confirmed within a couple of minutes indifferent of a physical location, hence is fast and global. Transactions can be only accessed by those having the secret keys, hence is secure. At last, it is a permissionless concept where you have to ask nobody to use cryptocurrency. Everybody can download the software for free. Under monetary properties, we see it is controlled supply, that is the supply of token is limited, as there can be loss of bitcoins or willful destruction of coins. This controlled supply will hence lead to decrease of coins and will reach its final number at the year 2140. Next we see it is no debt but bearer. The numbers we see on our bank accounts are actually debts. Cryptocurrencies do not represent debts, they actually represent themselves. Thus we see cryptocurrency transaction is an attack on the work of governments and banks on the monetary transactions of their citizens. I now request Ahuna Bose to continue with the advantages and disadvantages of cryptocurrency transaction. Thank you.
Thank you, Shomari. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Ahuna Bose. So when we learn about a new topic, three questions arises. What, how and why. So till now we have learned about what is cryptocurrency, how it works and why we should use it. There must be some advantages. First of all, it's transparent. The transaction of money is quite visible between the users. Then comes no intermediate medium, that's decentralized. There is no central bank to keep track of the transaction of the money. Thirdly, it's widely accepted. The transfer of money is not limited to the country borders and it's easy to access. It just requires an internet connection. Then comes the fast transactions. Since it just requires internet connection, it's really fast and anonymity. You don't have to give any personal information for transactions of the money. Then everything has its advantages and disadvantages. So let's say about the disadvantages of cryptocurrency. For this, I'd like to compare it with the present centralized system. First of all, in centralized system, there is a legal tender. Now what does legal tender mean? It means that there must be an agreement from both sides. Suppose I'm in India and I'm buying an item from a person and I'm paying it in Indian rupees. The person can't tell me that I have to pay it in dollar. Being in India, he is bound to accept the Indian currency. That's legal tender. Now, currency cannot be earned. Not talking about the rare cases where we give money. Currency can be achieved in exchange of something. Currency can be increased. This is a profit system. Suppose I'm selling an item to person A for 120 rupees. Here 100 is the price of the item and 20 is the profit. Then let's say that I'm So buying another item from person B and he gets 20 as profit and 120 is the cost price. The person B then decides to deposit the money in the bank, and at the end of the term the person gets an interest of 20 rupees. Now the question comes, how the bank gets the money? Let's think of this way. The bank gives loan to a person and at the end of the term the person has to pay 30 rupees. Then 10 is the profit that the bank keeps for itself and 20 is the interest that person B gets. That's the interest. Then this leads to the topic of devaluation of money and inflation. Now what does devaluation of money mean? Devaluation means that with time the value of the currency decreases. 10 years ago 10 rupees was maybe more costly than it's now. That's devaluation, which directly leads to the topic of inflation. Inflation means that the price of the item increases. Now inflation is very important for a country's economy. If there is no inflation, suppose I am buying an item for 100 and giving it away, then I am not left with any money. That's not acceptable. Cryptocurrency does not allow inflation. Now too much inflation is also a disadvantage. Let's think like this way. The price of the onions has grown up so high that people can't afford it. So that's a disadvantage. Now, opposite of inflation is deflation, where the price of the items decreases. Deflation must be avoided at all cost. Why? The resources are easily affordable by the people and it soon will be exhausted. So advanced economic countries like Japan, Switzerland are trying to bring inflation to the system. Why? Because the economic growth has stopped. In Switzerland, some cases are there that people are depositing their money in the banks, and at the end of the term, instead of getting interest, their money are being deducted. The country wants the people to spend the money so that there can be economic growth. Next comes asset backing. Basically, currency is nothing but cash which is physically exchangeable. So there is asset backing. In centralized system, what is currency exchange in terms of materialistic goods? But there is no exchange of materialistic goods in cryptocurrency. So there may or may not be asset backing. Then comes traceable by government. Centralized is controlled by the central bank, so the transaction of money is quite visible by the government and it can be tracked. But in decentralized, there is no central medium to keep track of it. Then in centralized systems, it's a regulated market, and so there is a liberty of buying and selling items. As long as it's legal, you can't just sell anyone on OLX and so on. But in decentralized, there is a restricted market. If I don't get the permission, a person may or may not buy and sell items. Then, lastly, in decentralized, that is cryptocurrency, there is a high risk of investing. The value of the bitcoins may go up and down. Today, the value of the bitcoin may be $1, and in the next 10 years, it can be so high that people can't afford it. That's why there is a high risk of investing. Next comes the online accounts that allow cryptocurrency. The most popular account is a Coinbase account, which can allow us to buy, sell, send, receive, and store Bitcoin. Other online accounts are Binance, Bitstamp. Then, just like the previous team said, that there are many other cryptocurrencies which are gaining popularity. Some of them are Litecoin, Ethereum, and IOTA. Then I've discussed the advantages and disadvantages of cryptocurrency. But we still don't know that whether it's used in India or not. Cryptocurrency leads to gambling. Since the value of the currency is not determined, it can cause gambling, and since gambling is restricted in India, RBI has clamped down on cryptocurrency. However, in the future scope, RBI is trying to bring a cryptocurrency of its own, where it will be the only one to control it. No other citizen of India can create cryptocurrency. Then comes legality. Legality. Just like I said, cryptocurrency attracts gambling, and it also leads to black money, that is unaccounted money transfers. It can't be traced by the government, and therefore it's banned from many countries, while some still allow it. So future scopes, cryptocurrency is a completely new topic, and new hash algorithms are designed to make it more secure. Some of the algorithms are SHA, MT5 and RSA 1024, which is the most popular. Now, these are the references from which, these are the websites from which we referenced for our topic. And cryptocurrency is a completely new topic. There are many disadvantages and advantages, but it's up to the people who use it. If we use it for good, then there can't be many disadvantages. So that's the end of our topic, cryptocurrency. Thank you everyone for listening to it. Thank you ma'am for spending your time with us. And thank you teachers for guiding us to the seminar. And thank you my